Good Sporting, episode 57, maybe? Not sure. When you start on episode 47, that would make this our 10th full-length episode. So that is fun. All right, let's get to the quick rundown. Three big topics today. We're going to start off talking LSU, Brian Kelly in a marriage that just did not work out and it was doomed from the beginning. And now, out of the woodworks, lots of bad stories about Brian Kelly coming out. We're going to take a look at them. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about where LSU goes from here, how Brian Kelly, at this point now, maybe he needs to, do something to fix his reputation a little bit. Second topic, we're going to preview the Florida Georgia game. My boys going up to Jacksonville, the Dogs coming down to Jacksonville. Do they have a new lease on life? We don't know. We'll see Saturday, 3:30. Hopefully it's a good one. I can't promise it. Third, the biggest topic. I'm running for mayor of Atlanta, and I am going to tackle the three clear-cut biggest problems facing all Atlanteans, ATLians, Atlantians. I don't know. I don't know what. Still working on a name for our people, but we're going to figure that out. Get in the voting booths November 4th, I believe. Write me in. Jack Gallagher. I can lead us. I can be your guy. All right, here we go. It's going to be a quicker episode, but let's get to the number one issue at hand, LSU and Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly fired at LSU. He went something like 34 and 14. It's not a bad record. It's not up to standard for LSU though. So they part ways. And frankly, it wasn't a culture fit. And a lot is made about culture these days. I don't think there's a program in America where it is as important for the coach to be a culture fit than LSU. You're in the Bayou, you're in Louisiana. It's that French Cajun culture. You literally have to know it or you will get ran out of town like Brian Kelly. And you cannot come on your first day of the job and fake it and fake your Southern accent. You can't build up to this 2025 season. We gave you plenty of runway, Brian. You can't get all this runway building up for this 2025 season where you figured your defense out. You got a number one NFL draft pick hopeful in Garrett Nussmeier that believed he could lead one of the best offenses in America and then peter out and look just anemic on offense through, 7 games or whatever he made it through. I think they're 5-2, 6-2, I don't know. Or 5-3 now. Another loss. But well, no, let's talk about the football itself. Blake Baker comes in and that defense is like if you only watched the defense play, LSU fans would be ecstatic about where it was because I could have scored on that defense last year, right? It was not good enough for what they were wanting to do. But in previous years, LSU historically has great offenses. Last year, the offense it wasn't what Brian Kelly had with Jaden Daniels, where it was electric and your quarterback was winning the Heisman Trophy, but it was very, very, very good. Garrett Nussmeier, very, very, very good last year. They had weapons. This year, the personnel, there was not a core shift in personnel, and you come out and your offense just stinks. Stinks. You beat Florida. You beat Florida 20-10, but you scored 20 points. DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions and you can't convert off that. You scored 20 points. You were lucky that you got the worst version of a Florida football team ever that day. And you still won by 10 somehow, but to me, that was like, despite winning that game, that's where you kind of felt like, oh God, things might get dark. Things might get dark here early. Um, and then, you know, it didn't pan out. The play on the field was not what it should have been. Brian Kelly gets canned, and now you have former players saying that he wasn't granted. Don't quote me on the story because I haven't read the story in about 2 days, and I didn't do enough research on it before bringing this to the forefront of the podcast today. But you have a guy come out. He wasn't declared a medical redshirt, Brian Kelly, because of the decisions he made toward this young man, essentially ruining his career. Then you obviously have, way back. a long time ago him at fault for a student assistant coach going up on a forklift type of thing in hurricane force winds and the young kid passes away. Like it's horrible things that happened, whether it's Brian Kelly's fault or not, happened under his guidance of a football program. More and more stories coming out day by day, like to the point where the lack of culture fit is the least of our worries with Brian Kelly. But ultimately, lack of production on the field, this team not amounting to their potential at all. Brian Kelly and his fake Southern accent have been ran out of town in Baton Rouge. Who do they get next? They're going to make a run at Kiffin, you know. Ed Orgeron wants to get back in the mix, right? You got John Sumrall down the road at Tulane doing good things at Tulane. Do you give him a call? James Franklin probably not going to get a big job like LSU, but his name has been thrown in the mix. I saw something today that was like LSU knows who their next coach is going to be. Who was that? Who was that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Drinkwitz here maybe taking a bigger job. Head coach at Missouri. We don't know. We don't know. But Brian Kelly, fake Southern accent, drama, bad things happening with programs and kids under his guidance. Things got dark at LSU very quickly. And what a bad breakup that was. A really bad breakup when, I mean, it wasn't as drastic as James Franklin, but things fell apart so quick. This year was supposed to be great for him, and it wasn't. Bye bye, Brian. All right. That's it. Just want to touch on that quickly, and then I want to talk about this Florida Georgia game. And I'm actually glad that I waited until tonight. Tonight being Thursday. Nope, liar. Tonight being Wednesday. Injury report came out today. Florida is going to be without Vernell Brown the third. One of their two really, really good explosive playmakers, him and Dallas Wilson, wide receivers. This was a game where you had Vernell Brown on one side. You have to give him attention as a defense, hopefully leaving open the opportunity to throw it deep to Dallas Wilson literally as many times as you can this game. Because you have to be explosive. You have to put points on the board. You have to make something happen that, Florida hasn't really made happen this year. So that's a huge loss, not having Vernell Brown. It's a huge loss. DJ Lagway still has talent. You got Trey Wilson. You got 6'8" Hayden Hansen, who's slower than a bag of rocks, but 6'8" nonetheless. Give him an opportunity in the red zone. Give Dallas Wilson plenty of opportunities. J. Michael Sturdivant, Jaden Ball, one of the best running backs in the league. The O-line, very talented, very big. This offense, sometimes mind-boggling that they didn't live up to the potential because quite literally, you could call any one of those position units a strength. So the offense is not amounting to what it needs to be, but maybe a breath of fresh air now that the man calling the offense is no longer there. And also, recently, some stories, some news came out that this might have been Brooks Austin. So shout out Brooks Austin that shared this when I was watching him. But I guess this year, like Russ Callaway and some of the offensive staff was putting together the game plan all week while Billy Napier was doing CEO things, and then Billy Napier would call the plays on Saturday based on kind of the game plan he was given. So you got to wonder how that shakes up now. I feel like we know what we're gonna get when that Georgia offense versus that Florida defense is there. Maybe a minor downtick in production from Georgia, hopefully against this Florida defense, but I think Georgia's still gonna get theirs. They're still gonna score. I don't think that's I don't think that's a huge question. It's just like how is the game dynamics gonna go? And I feel like this game is gonna go the way pretty much every Georgia game goes and the way every big game for Florida goes. Florida, we you might get 10, 17 points on the board early. You're up and you're like, okay, okay, maybe we have a new lease on life, this Florida team. And then the second half, Georgia becomes Georgia. You sputter out several times. DJ Lagway throws a pick because he doesn't have 2 feet on the ground when he's throwing the ball. and then things get dark pretty quickly, and you lose, and the final score looks exactly like what we thought it was going to look like, despite the fact that for, you know, 38 minutes of this ball game, you thought you could win. That's the fear, but that's also my guess on how this game is going to go. Gunnar Stockton really good. I think he's going to protect the ball. I I think Georgia's run game against Florida's run defense is a matchup to watch here. If they're not getting, the 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, if they're down at 2, 3, and Florida's really stuffing the run, and Gunnar Stockton has to make throws out of necessity and not out of luxury, then that could shift. Florida can stay in this game for longer. Bounce of the ball goes their way, then we really have something in the fourth quarter. But Florida also in this injury report, it's like if you made a list of every single guy I was really excited to watch this year for Florida, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a breakout year for this guy. That's essentially what the injury report looks like because all those guys are out. It's pretty ridiculous and it's unfortunate. So my prediction for Florida versus Georgia, Florida out to a quick weed. Ooh, quick weed likes. Yikes. Oh my God. My prediction for Florida versus Georgia. I think Florida gets out to a quick lead like last year, and we're all thinking this team has a new lease on life. This is very exciting. Let's see if this offense is really good now that Billy Napier's not here. I think we're up, 17-10, 10-3, 14-3, 14-7, one of those type of scores, halftime hits, and then Georgia happens in the second half. And DJ Lagway throws a pick. And they start getting a couple explosives on the ground. They get a deep throw. Things unravel, and Georgia might cover the spread. But because I have hope, I'm going to say that Florida covers the spread. There's my guess. Let's go. All right, we're flying through this episode. It's going to be a quick one. I don't know if I can even call this a podcast because I really just hit the big topics. I hit them hard. I hit them with ferocity, but I don't take my time on them. I just get down to the bones of it. You know, I don't give you all the extracurriculars. We just talk business here. So, getting into the last topic here. Yes, you heard it. I tweeted out last night. I have officially announced my candidacy for the mayor position of Atlanta. I'm a Marietta resident. I haven't figured out how that's going to really go down, but I'm running for mayor of Atlanta, and I am tackling the three biggest issues that Atlanta has. Number one being the traffic. Okay. I think what we do, because we can find money for it. I think our tax dollars are going to the wrong things. I think we get some people some helicopters, right? Get a lot of helicopters, just hand out helicopter licenses, something like that. More highways, more roads. I think all of these things would be great. We're gonna cut down on the traffic. Your 1 hour commute is gonna fly by. Frankly, not worried about the traffic fix. I'll get that. Just trust me, I'll get that figured out. I got a guy that knows a lot about traffic. Second biggest problem plaguing the people of Atlanta that we need to figure out is the Atlanta Falcons. Okay? It's very concerning. This is, some might say that this team is the lifeblood of the city, and the blood is not pumping, right? I was talking to my buddy Ed. We were talking about the offense, and we were talking about how the offensive coordinator went from, did he go from the field to the booth? I think it went from the field to the booth, or vice versa. And you play the Bills or you open up the season and the offense looks good and Ed's like me and Ed really both were like that's the fix. This is life changing. Why wasn't he calling the offense from there the whole time? That's what we needed. This team's good again. And now in retrospect, what what lunatics we were to think that moving from here to up in the booth all of a sudden made this offensive coordinator a world beater. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that. Blame it on Raheem Morris, blame it on Michael Penix, and the fact that there is nothing left in those knees, 14 ACL surgeries. At a certain point, we got to cut this guy off and say, next knee injury, you're out of here, dude. And then But then the bad thing about Penix, who has the worst knees in the NFL, is his backup, Kirk. Are we serious? Your starter and your backup have like half a knee to work with combined. And then, I mean, you could talk about the draft picks. You draft, you know, linebacker, and then you trade back into the first round again, giving up picks, another pass rushing linebacker, James Pierce, who isn't doing much. So some of the draft picks looks like they weren't hitting. You could get mad at the ownership and say that he's not as worried about the Falcons as he should be, and we're not making decisions based on getting production on the field and winning games like the Atlanta Falcons should. So that is concerning for the Falcons. It could be a plethora of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is that the Falcons just stink. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because Atlanta deserves better. And as mayor, that's a problem that I will tackle. The Atlanta Falcons will. Here's what I'm doing with your tax dollars. Um, Paying the best players in the NFL to come play in Atlanta and getting rid of traffic by giving people helicopters or something. I don't know. That's really kind of stupid. And it's just a bit, guys. I'm not running for mayor. But if I did, the third reason, well, I am. Technically, I think by just announcing that I'm running, I think that officially makes me a candidate. Um, Third reason, third biggest thing plaguing the people of Atlanta that I will deal with as mayor is the fact that Freddie Freeman might retire as a Los Angeles Dodger. We can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. That's the third thing I'm going to put your tax dollars towards is the biggest contract of all time to bring Freddie home. Because he's a Brave, man. He's a Brave, and he wanted to be a Brave. And his stupid agent never told him that the Braves offered him a contract, and he wanted to come back. And his agent never told him the contract was there. His wife wanted to go be in Hollywood, so they went to LA. Didn't even know that the Braves wanted him back. He probably felt like a loser. Probably felt like, oh, they didn't want me in the first place. I guess I'll go. We did want you. We wanted you back. And we never told you that we had an offer on the table for you. It's insane. It's the worst. And now he's gonna have more MVPs and more World Series with the Dodgers, and he's gonna be the greatest World Series player to ever play the game. And the Dodgers are gonna win the next 14 World Series, and he's gonna have. There's a world where he ends up playing more ball with the Dodgers than he has with the Braves. It might be, I don't know what it is exactly, but I mean, if he plays 22 years, it might be, 11 and 11 or 10 and 12. And it's honestly, in all seriousness, it is very sad for a city like Atlanta that loved Freddie Freeman so much. And that love was reciprocated from Freddie, and he was a Brave through and through, mind-boggling that we ever let him get away. It's his agent's fault, like I said. It's it's very, very bittersweet to see what he's doing because like you love Freddie. It's like when he's up to bat for the Dodgers, you're kind of like, oh, he hit a walk-off homer in the 18th. That's awesome. I love Freddie. And then you realize that he plays for the Dodgers and it sucks. And it's Shohei. And I also asked this question the other day, if their careers ended right now or even like in a few years, would Freddie Freeman be a better baseball player than Shohei? A greater baseball player than Shohei? And I know he has like 8 years on him, not even really age-wise, but just amount of time in the league. And it might be that way. Freddie might be greater. I don't know. Quick episode. All right, quick episode. Had to fire this one off because I've had a busy week. Not nearly as busy as some of you full-time workers out there, but listen, I'm trying to keep my plate full and have productive days. Okay? So thank you for watching. If you did, like and subscribe. If you're not, send it to everyone you know. But if you don't, that's not too upsetting because it's a little bit embarrassing that I post for 26 subscribers so consistently. But, you know, the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of greatness, sure, whatever. All right, thank you for watching. Jack Gallagher, have good sporting. Episode 57 in the books. We are out. Thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.